This is either the most or least surprising bit of news I could give you. You'll have to tell me which it is. ICE under Donald Trump, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. These are the people carrying out these raids and rounding up of people in Home Depot parking lots. Trump's ICE is now hiring individuals who can barely read or write. And one guy who weighs almost 500 pounds and has been certified not fit to do any kind of work. The, what on earth is going on here? Trump's ICE has put together a hiring push, and they've been. I was recently in D.C. There were at bus stops. There were posters inviting people to apply for ICE, and it has not only become a national embarrassment; it's become a dangerous embarrassment as well. They want 10,000 new deportation officers on the street, and they want them there as quickly as possible. And the result is that they are packing this enforcement force with people who, according to internal complaints, can barely read or write. They can barely read or write. These are agents who will carry guns. They will detain civilians. They will make snap legal judgments about individuals that they encounter. They will process immigration cases and determine whether families get to stay together or get torn apart. And based on reports that we are getting, they are failing open book exams because they cannot read the questions at a sufficient level. Some of them can't even fill out basic paperwork without getting help. And these are reportedly not isolated outliers. This is part of the new normal of ICE. So imagine the imagery of a guy asking for your papers who can barely read your papers. Now, we've talked about functional illiteracy before. We've actually talked about it in the context of Donald Trump. Functional illiteracy means technically you can read and write. If I show you, I don't know, if I show you my book back here, you can read the word echo. But if I hand you the book and say, read these two paragraphs coherently and then explain to me what they say, you kind of can't do it. And so while you can recognize words, you go to the grocery store, you can see whether it says open or closed and understand I go in or I stay out, right? You can understand that. You really can't read well enough or write well enough to handle everyday tasks. And this is a growing problem in the United States. Now, a lot of recent data suggests that about 20% of American adults struggle to take basic written information, like on a job application or a legal notice, or, the medical instructions you get when you're discharged from like a colonoscopy, for example. And 20% of Americans struggle to read that. Now, you might be saying, well, why is that overrepresented among these ICE applicants? And the reason is, I believe, if you're in the 80% of American adults that doesn't struggle to read and interpret and synthesize text, you probably already have a job and you're probably not interested in seeing a billboard and going, maybe I'll apply to be an ICE officer. Now, what is even more concerning is that many people with these poor literacy skills, they are graduating high school. And this is something we've talked about on the bonus show, which is that due to a number of different problems, failing systems, lack of oversight, ability to get through using computers and whatever else, there are people who are barely literate, who are graduating high school, and in some cases making it to college, and they can barely read or write. That is a systemic failure as well, because we used to have guardrails that used to prevent some of this. And a lot of those guardrails have now been circumvented. Now, we can also take another angle on this, which is to look at requirements for law enforcement. And there used to be a lot more requirement for a college degree. That has been done away with to a great extent. There used to be longer training. And now some training in some departments is like 6 weeks. I don't know for sure, but I think that there are mall security that get basically the same amount of training or close to it. And so they are trying to push through what one DHS official said is anybody that has a pulse. Now, the hypocrisy gets worse when you remember that just a couple weeks ago, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, said the military's got to stop hiring fat people. We can't have any more fat people. And meanwhile, we learned that this new ICE recruitment effort sent a 469-pound man to the academy after the guy's doctor said, this guy cannot do any physical activity. It sounds like a punchline to some sick joke, but it's just what's going on. This is another area, by the way. The physical standards are in a free fall. The testing for physical standards is essentially an afterthought. And then just as relevantly, the agency has slipped when it comes to background checks as well. And so we've learned about tattoos linked to gangs and white supremacist groups. They are noticed much, much later than they should be. And sometimes they are dealt with and sometimes they are not. So ICE is burning through bodies almost as quickly as it hires them. Hundreds have been removed from training for failing the literacy component, for failing the fitness component or the medical screening or the background check. And you would normally see that and go, wow, we need to overhaul the whole program. We can't be getting so far with so many people and then finding out they're actually not physically fit, they can't read, or whatever the case may be. Now, meanwhile, DHS is insisting that the vast majority of new hires are already experienced law enforcement officers. But if that's true, how are so many of them washing out? There's two possibilities. DHS is lying that so many of the recruits are former law enforcement, or it's true that they're former law enforcement, but they're getting a ton of former law enforcement that can't read or write, or have white supremacist tattoos, or are unable to meet the basic fitness standards. So either way, this is a problem. Now, we were told when Trump came in that we were going to get law and order. This is very much not law and order. This is the militarization of incompetence. And it's happening in an agency that, unfortunately, is already notorious for abuse and overreach. And when the people enforcing federal power don't understand the laws that they're enforcing, or potentially can't even read what the law is, the danger is essentially guaranteed. So top level, ICE transforming into a force of unchecked, unqualified troops. Micro level, we got a real problem with literacy in this country. If you are scrambling for a meaningful last-minute holiday gift and running out of real ideas, Aura Frames can save you. Our sponsor, Aura, makes high-quality digital photo frames that showcase your favorite pictures and videos in a way that looks like a real print. I've given these to so many different people. I gave one to my dad, preloaded with family photos. He still walks by it and comments on pictures he hasn't seen in years. It's a gift that lands. And Aura makes it really easy. You can preload the pictures before it even ships. You can add a personal message, and then you can keep adding photos and videos all year long. It's free. It's unlimited. The setup takes just a few minutes, and every frame arrives in a premium gift box. There is still plenty of time to get an Aura frame shipped before Christmas, and you'll get $35 off their best-selling Carver mat frames when you go to auraframes.com and use the code Pakman at checkout. The link is in the description.